We're here at Data Decoded, the first edition of this conference to be held in London. And as you can see, despite a tube strike, plenty of people have made the effort to be here at Olympia. AI is keeping so many leaders awake at the moment. They've invested a huge amount of money and they want to see return on investment. But you can't run before you can walk. So things like data governance, data strategy, the nuts and bolts, the foundations of this technology needs to be in place. And a lot of the conversations happening here are exactly that. How do we get the foundations in place? How do we think about sustainability? How do we think about security? How do we think about governance? It's so crucial that we get those conversations right. I can't wait to see what people here have to say, what they're talking about, and what we can try and infer from that and help us understand what's going on in the industry. Something that we want to explore whilst we're here is a stat that's in our latest tech talent salary survey. Harvey Nash have spoken to over 3,000 tech professionals, and 46%, almost half of them, don't believe that their leadership truly understand AI. That's a hugely significant stat to me because this is the biggest single piece of technology that we talk about on a day-to-day basis. So why is there such little confidence, I suppose, in leadership when it comes to this particular technology?
First of all, I caught up with Kam Karaji. He's the CISO at the NFL. And I put that statistic to him and asked a very simple question. Does it surprise you?
If I'll be perfectly honest, those stats don't surprise me as much.
Right,
I would have thought they'd be higher.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And the reason why is that, like I said earlier, our role is actually business translators, right? My job is actually translating that risk into more human business form to make them valued decisions, right? Leadership don't fully understand that, don't fully grasp it. They think that AI is going to solve their world for them. It'll give us a trajectory. It'll give us all this information that we need. But arguably, all that information, is that the right decision you're making on the back of that data or not?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lack of transparency from leaders back to the organization decision makers. So it's saying, okay, there is a concern here, but I want to be absolutely clear. This is how this information is presented to you. Does that give you a valued decision at the end of it? Yes, no, maybe. So
Yeah.
I think I would have expected it higher because I think there is an education piece which we've not hit that well. I think AI has been put down people's throats. It's going to solve the world. Great. There is so much gain to be had. We'll use it ourselves in our organization, but is it the right usage that we're going to get from it?
Having spoken to many speakers and users, I think I'm surprised actually it's that high, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's possibly a demographic question in terms of the knowledge base around AI within senior leaders of many organisations, especially within large organisations of 10,000 plus employees.
It shows that leaders have a fair amount of work to do in terms of gaining, maybe not credibility, but something on those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of work to do, and I think there's a lot of leading to be done on the surrounding teams that make up the leadership teams that they can draw upon their sort of knowledge base.
It does not shock me. I wouldn't be surprised if it were higher. It almost feels low to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I think leadership and C-suite are pretty far away from the realities of how to get value and how to capture value from AI, and don't understand that it's not as simple as just throwing AI on top of data and the magic happens. There's a lot of, I think, kind of like boots on the ground foundational work, right, that needs to be done to make it successful. So yeah, and this is a common theme we hear across lots of our customers and folks that we're talking to.
It's the beginning of day 2 at Data Decoded. We are sitting literally opposite Olympia. Yesterday we spoke to several people, putting this stat to them that 46% of technologists don't believe that their leaders have a good grasp of AI. And so far, most people have said that they actually think that's not as bad as they thought it could have been. They thought that number would be higher. And that actually the fact that a majority of technologists, it might be a small majority, but a majority of technologists do believe that their leaders have a good grasp of AI is a positive thing. And you've got to remember that this is a new tech which is evolving very quickly and we are learning about all the time, and that is going to influence that number. So, whilst there is work to do, the leaders that we spoke to yesterday were fairly positive on that number, which I've got to be honest, kind of surprised me.
%46%, it seems to be a little bit high to me, to be fair, at times, but that might just be the industry I work in. I think actually some of our practitioners don't understand AI to the level that they probably need to, so I'd always expect the understanding at the kind of practitioner level to be higher than the leadership level and it kind of progress upwards. But you know, you hear a lot about tools and whether it's for good or for bad. I think the more leadership groups we can get engaging with AI tools and how they work and how the practitioners are using them, the better, because the more that your leadership understands the kind of base level of operation, the more they can design their strategies, etc., to make account of the good parts of it.
No, and as surprising as it may sound, I don't know even within NASA they have that deep understanding. It's changing, just like it is probably in the industry, but the huge potential for what AI and robotics can do is just hard to fathom. You know, personally, thinking about it and using it, I can't say I'm a very deep user or constant user of AI, but AI and robotics is going to be the foundation to be able to do what we need to do to colonize the moon. For example, if I explained on the International Space Station, they spend about half their time maintaining the operations. So it's like the mundane work, whether it's inside or out, just to keep the station going, and really only half their time. And they're not working 24 hours. They've got 8 to 10 hour days. You know, we don't work them to death for the 6 months they're up there. So really the useful science is really diminished because of all that maintenance. Now, if you translate that to the lunar surface and you're talking about astronauts having to build, like physically drive and move elements together, connect elements together, knowing that a nuclear fission reactor would need a keep out zone of about 3 miles, and laying the cable and digging the cable to be able to have a charging station that's safe, all the maintenance inside and outside of the habitation modules, the science and exploring, it wouldn't be practical. You'd have to have armies and armies of people, same as you would here on Earth, to build something. So everything has to be AI driven, robotic driven, to free up the humans to do the cool science that we're there to do.
So we've been at Data Decoded for 2 days. The conference is beginning to draw towards a close. Still 1 or 2 final talks going on the stages around us. What's been really interesting, talking to people through podcasts, through panels, asking a few questions to experts as we've grabbed them at their stands or in the speaker lounge, is how engaged people are. And I say that with the greatest will in the world to a lot of conferences that you go to, because sometimes people can feel like they're phoning it in slightly. You know, you go along to a conference talk and it's not uncommon to see a lot of people on their phone, or they're not necessarily as engaged in the talk as you might hope. Well, here, people have really been plugged in. People have been taking notes. People have been present. And I think that's great to see at a conference. I think what it also says is that people really want to learn. When it comes to data, and therefore when it comes to AI, it is moving so fast, it is evolving so fast that people feel like there is a lot to learn. And I think the question that we've been asking people around this 46% thinking that their leaders don't understand AI as much as they should underlines that. There's a huge amount to go in terms of education, in terms of awareness, and then the ability to implement this technology.